RHOBH, Dorit Kemsley recounts son's heartbreaking medical scare. RHOBH star, Dorit Kemsley is recounting her son, Jagger's heartbreaking medical scare. She and her husband, PK Kemsley, are currently separated, which will be documented in the upcoming season. So what did the co-parents deal with concerning their son? Keep reading for more details. Dorit Kemsley recounts son's heartbreaking medical scare. This has been a traumatic few years for Dorit Kemsley and her family. They were the victims of a home invasion where she was held at gunpoint. The kids were in their bedrooms sleeping and her husband, PK Kemsley, was out of town. That left Dorit alone to handle it, and she suffered from PTSD. The robbers were never caught, and then just a short time later, she was mugged again. She was shopping and had taken out $10,000 cash. Dorit was followed, and the money was stolen from her bag. Despite trying to make PK understand her struggles, he was more frustrated by her. They ended up parting ways after a very rough time. Some have claimed they were not living together longer than they stated. However, they have wanted to keep on a brave face for their kids, Jagger and Phoenix. This will be shown in season 14 of RHOBH, which premieres on November 19th. That is when the true downfall of their marriage will be displayed for the world to see. As they prepare to watch that playback, Dorit and PK have been dealing with something far more serious. Their son, Jagger, 10, was just hospitalized. As it turned out, he had a septic hip. According to Page 6, the fashion designer recounted the heartbreaking event in her Halloween post. Dressed as the Flintstones, she explained that Jagger had 2 surgeries in a week for a septic hip, aka septic arthritis. This can occur when germs get into the bloodstream and infect the joints. He then spent 2 weeks in the hospital as he recovered. Many people questioned over and over who Fred Flintstone was, and it was PK Kemsley. He was tagged in the family photo and even poked fun at the repetitive comment. PK needed a laugh as he has been with his family in the hospital. On October 15th, he shared this update about Jagger. Of course, viewers were worried about him as they had seen Jagger since he was a toddler. Now he's a little man. This is horrible, but fortunately, he is healing and was able to celebrate the best way possible. The sun had barely risen over Beverly Hills when Dorit Kemsley found herself clutching her phone, her perfectly manicured nails trembling against the sleek glass. Her youngest, Phoenix, had awoken with a fever so high it bordered on alarming. The usual vibrancy in his hazel eyes was replaced by a glassy sheen that made Dorit's heart constrict. As a mother, Dorit prided herself on remaining composed under pressure, but the sight of her baby boy's tiny chest rising and falling with strained effort was enough to send waves of panic through her. PK, her rockin' partner, was already pacing the room, his British accent thick with concern as he tried to contact their pediatrician. By mid-morning, they were rushing Phoenix to the hospital. The drive felt endless, even though Cedars-Sinai was only a short distance from their home. Dorit held Phoenix close, whispering soothing words into his ear, though her own voice shook. In the backseat, her thoughts raced. Was this a simple virus or something more serious? Could she have missed signs earlier? Upon arrival, the sterile smell of the emergency room hit Dorit like a wave. She'd always associated hospitals with healing, but today it felt suffocating, the fluorescent lights too harsh against the delicate paleness of Phoenix's face. The nurses were kind and efficient, quickly ushering them into a private room. PK stayed by the door, his shoulders stiff, while Dorit settled into a chair, cradling her son. "We're running some tests," the doctor explained, his tone professional but gentle. "It could be a severe case of the flu, but we want to rule out anything more serious." Dorit nodded, her throat too tight to respond. She stroked Phoenix's hair, her mind flashing back to carefree afternoons in their backyard. his laughter filling the air as he chased his older sister, Jagger. Now his laughter felt like a distant memory. Hours passed like molasses. Dorit updated close friends and family, her phone buzzing with messages of love and support. Lisa Rinna called, her typically brash demeanor softened by genuine concern. "Anything you need, Dorit, just say the word." Kyle Richards sent over a care package to the hospital, snacks, a cozy blanket, and a stuffed animal for Phoenix. "Stay strong," her note read, accompanied by a heart. Even Erica Jane, who often kept her emotions guarded, reached out with a text, "Praying for you all. Phoenix is a fighter." By evening, the tests began to reveal answers. Phoenix's oxygen levels were dangerously low, and he was diagnosed with a severe respiratory infection that had escalated into pneumonia. The doctors assured Dorit and PK that they'd caught it early enough for aggressive treatment to make a difference, but the words did little to quell Dorit's fears. "He'll need to stay here for a few days," the doctor explained. "We'll monitor him closely and administer antibiotics." "Kids are resilient, Mrs. Kemsley." Dorit nodded, her hand gripping PK's tightly. They both knew the days ahead would test them in ways they hadn't anticipated. The first night was the hardest. Dorit refused to leave Phoenix's side, curling up on the small couch in his room. She watched the steady drip of the IV, the rhythmic beeping of the monitors, both a comfort and a reminder of how fragile life could be. She prayed silently, her thoughts a mix of gratitude for the medical team and desperation for her son's recovery. By the second day, Phoenix began showing signs of improvement. His fever broke, and his breathing became less labored. Dorit found solace in the small victories, the way he reached for her hand, the faint smile that graced his lips when Jagger's video message played on her phone. PK brought in books from home, and they took turns reading Phoenix's favorite stories, their voices blending into a soft harmony of hope. The experience brought a new depth to Dorit and PK's partnership. They leaned on each other, finding strength in shared moments of vulnerability. Dorit often reflected on how their journey together had prepared them for this. The glitz and glamour of Beverly Hills could never shield them from life's unpredictable challenges, but it was their love and resilience that carried them through. On the third day, Phoenix was well enough to sit up and enjoy a popsicle, his cheeks regaining their rosy hue. The doctors were optimistic about his recovery, and Dorit allowed herself to breathe deeply for the first time in days. By the time they returned home, Phoenix was on the mend, his laughter once again filling their home. Dorit couldn't help but hold him a little tighter, cherishing the preciousness of every moment. The ordeal left her with a renewed perspective, a reminder of what truly mattered amid the chaos of life in the spotlight. In the weeks that followed, Dorit shared her story with her close-knit group of RHOBH castmates. Over coffee at Kyle's sprawling estate, she recounted the harrowing experience, her voice tinged with emotion. "It was terrifying," she admitted. "But it made me realize how lucky we are to have access to incredible medical care and such a supportive community. It's a privilege I don't take for granted." The women listened intently, their usual drama set aside for a rare moment of unity. Sutton Strack dabbed her eyes with a tissue, while Garcelle Beauvais reached across the table to squeeze Dorit's hand. "You're an incredible mom," Crystal Kung Minkoff said softly. "Phoenix is lucky to have you." Dorit smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. The experience had been a reminder of the fragility of life, but also of its beauty, the connections that sustained her, the love that bound her family together, and the strength she never knew she possessed.